Monza, 1987, a fleet of identical box-arched coupes sweeps across the finish line, taking the top 6 places in a world championship race. Fast forward to today, and under the bright lights of an auction stage, that same machine, once a scrappy DTM bruiser, is now a 6-figure sacred relic of automotive history. How did a humble 1980s 3 Series transform into a legend? In this cinematic journey, we uncover the mystery, mechanical brilliance, and cultural impact behind what many call the greatest BMW ever made. This is the story of the E30 M3. The E30 generation BMW M3 might look like a boxy 80s coupe with a tiny 2.3-liter engine and barely 200 horsepower. But the moment it debuted at the 1985 Frankfurt Motor Show, it became an instant icon. Born from BMW Motorsport's obsession with winning, the M3 wasn't designed to impress in a showroom. It was engineered to dominate racetracks. Homologation was the only goal: build enough road cars to go racing. What BMW didn't expect was that this street-legal race car would become a legend. To most people, it looked like just another old 3 Series. But underneath those squared-off lines lived a razor-sharp, race-bred soul, the kind of purity modern performance cars simply can't recreate. In an era of excess, the E30 was focused, compact, and purposeful. And in the years that followed, it conquered touring car championships across the world and captured the hearts of enthusiasts everywhere, cementing itself as a timeless benchmark for what a true driver's car should be. To understand the M3, you have to go back to the mid-1980s touring car wars. Mercedes had the 190E Cosworth. Ford had the Sierra Cosworth. And Group A racing demanded one thing: build 5,000 road-legal versions of your race car or don't bother showing up. BMW refused to watch from the sidelines, so BMW Motorsport set out to create a machine built for victory first and daily driving second. The result was the first ever M3, launched in 1986 as a pure homologation special. Engineers took the humble E33 series shell and reworked nearly everything: widened fenders, resculpted aerodynamics, stiffer suspension, bigger brakes, and a dogleg Getrag 5-speed straight out of race paddocks. Aside from the doors and roof, the car was practically a different species. Every detail existed to win races. Its sharp, boxy silhouette hid a purpose-built weapon underneath, a race car thinly disguised as a road car. BMW's mission was simple: beat Mercedes and Ford, dominate Group A, and prove that Munich still owned the touring car crown. What nobody expected was how far it would go. The E30 M3 didn't just win, it rewrote the rulebook and became the benchmark every sports sedan would chase for decades. If motorsport set the mission, the engineering delivered the magic. At the center of the E30 M3 was its tiny powerhouse of an engine, the SE14. This 2.3-liter 16-valve 4-cylinder was a high-revving marvel built by BMW legend Paul Rosche. Using a strengthened 2.0-liter block and a twin-cam head derived from the M1 supercar, literally with 2 cylinders lopped off, Rosche created an engine that screamed to nearly 7,000 RPM and hit 200 horsepower without turbos or 6 cylinders. In an era obsessed with boost, BMW proved pure engineering could match brute force. The S14's origin story became part of M3 folklore. The first prototype was reportedly built in just 14 days. Yet it was overbuilt like a true racing engine, with a forged crankshaft strong enough to survive 8,000 plus RPM in race trim. On the road, it felt raw, alive, and instantly responsive, the kind of 4-cylinder that barely exists today. But the engine was only half the story. The M3's body and chassis were redesigned from the ground up for speed. Weight was shaved everywhere: plastic bumpers, lightweight panels, wider fenders, while the aerodynamics were quietly transformed. A steeper windshield, a flatter rear window, and that iconic raised wing produced a surprisingly slippery 0.33 drag coefficient. The widened arches weren't just aggressive styling. They housed a broader track and larger BBS wheels for real grip. Lower, sharper, and more planted than any normal 3 Series, the E30 M3 looked purposeful because every inch of it was. It wasn't just engineered to be fast, it was engineered to win. Inside, the transformation was just as focused. Deep sport seats, a small steering wheel, and that dogleg shifter made it clear that the M3 came straight from the racetrack. And despite having no modern electronic aids, it was remarkably forgiving. The standard E33 series was known for snappy oversteer at the limit, but the M3 was a revelation. Quick, weighted steering, revised suspension geometry, and a planted front end gave it a beautifully neutral balance. Push too hard, and it would slip into a smooth, controllable oversteer. Ironically, the most hardcore E30 was also the friendliest to drive. BMW proved this wasn't by accident. Prototypes were hammered around the Nürburgring Nordschleife to fine-tune handling, then sent to Italy's Nardo high-speed bowl and run flat out for 150,000 kilometers to test durability. The M3 survived everything thrown at it. And when it finally arrived on the starting grid, all that engineering work paid off spectacularly. From the moment it hit the grid, the E30 M3 made its intentions clear. In early 1987, as customer teams rolled out their Group A M3s, the car immediately dominated. At its WTCC debut in Monza, M3s finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A total sweep so overwhelming that rivals protested, and the win was later stripped on a technicality. But the message was undeniable. A new force had arrived. That same year, Roberto Ravaglia stormed to the World Touring Car Championship title, sealing the crown in a tense finale in Australia, despite cracking a rib in a crash at Bathurst earlier in the season. Across Europe, the M3 was busy collecting silverware. It won the European Touring Car Championship, then conquered Germany's DTM, Britain's BTCC, and multiple national series across Italy and France. In 1988, Frank Seitner even claimed the BTCC title in an M3, humbling the more powerful Ford Sierra turbos through sheer agility and endurance. The M3 simply outhandled and outlasted its competitors. As competition heated up, BMW kept sharpening the M3 with a series of evolution models designed purely to stay ahead on track. In 1988 came the Evolution 2, 500 units with a higher compression engine, making around 220 horsepower, revised aerodynamics, and larger 16-inch wheels. Every tweak had one purpose: squeeze out more speed. Then in 1990 came the ultimate version, the M3 Sport Evolution. Fans call it the Evo 3, and for good reason. It was the peak of E30 development. The engine grew to 2.5 liters and 238 horsepower, revving past 7,000 RPM with ease. Adjustable front and rear spoilers, thinner glass, and Recaro buckets turned it into a barely street-legal race car. Only 600 were built, making it one of the rarest and most coveted M3s ever. BMW also honored its touring car heroes with special editions like the Macau Blue Europameister, celebrating the ETCC title, and the Johnny Cecotto and Ravaglia editions. Naming road cars after touring car drivers is almost unthinkable today. But the M3's success was so legendary that BMW proudly did exactly that. On track, the M3's trophy haul only grew. After winning the 1987 WTCC, Roberto Ravaglia added the 1989 DTM title, while Eric van der Poel had already claimed the 1987 DTM crown. In endurance racing, the M3 proved unstoppable, winning the Spa 24 Hours in 1988 and scoring a dominant 1-2 finish at the Nürburgring 24 Hours in 1989. It even stunned the rally world. A ProDrive prepared M3 won the 1987 Tour de Corse, and Bernard Béguin finished 8th at the 1989 Monte Carlo Rally, making the M3 the fastest two-wheel drive car against a field of all-wheel drive giants. For 5 straight years, the E30 M3 won everywhere it went. BMW would later call it the most successful touring car ever built, and the numbers back it up. By the early 90s, new rules and more modern tech finally caught up with it, but the legacy was sealed. Countless championships and an imprint on motorsport history no rival could erase. When its racing days ended, the E30 M3 found a second life as a modern classic. What began as a homologation weapon became the poster child for pure analog driving. Through the 90s and 2000s, enthusiasts came to appreciate not just its trophies, but the experience. Light, raw, perfectly balanced and free of modern electronic filters. In 2007, Automobile magazine named it one of the top 5 greatest driver's cars ever, praising its razor-sharp turn-in, race car throttle feel, and ability to keep up with far newer machines in the hands of a skilled driver. Among enthusiasts, the E30 M3 now holds near-mythic status. Owners speak about it with the reverence usually reserved for exotics, calling it the pinnacle of analog driving. A car whose character comes purely from engineering, not software. At meets and online forums, you'll hear the same sentiment again and again. Nothing else feels quite like an E30 M3. Its influence on BMW and car culture as a whole is enormous. The M3 nameplate became legendary, largely because of what the E30 accomplished. Every generation since has been measured against it, yet none match its motorsport first purity. It remains the only 4-cylinder M3, the only one born strictly from racing regulations, and one of the few BMWs with such direct competition pedigree. Light, nimble, and genuinely bred for battle, the E30 M3 stands alone, a singular moment in BMW history that will likely never be repeated. Today, the E30 M3's legacy is reflected in its soaring value. What once sat unsold on U.S. showroom floors for around $35,000 is now a blue-chip collectible. Pristine examples routinely fetch supercar money. In 2020, an 8,000-mile M3 sold for an astonishing $250,000. A car born out of a rulebook requirement has become automotive royalty. But the devotion isn't about speed. By modern standards, the E30 M3 isn't especially fast. Plenty of hot hatches could outrun it. What makes it priceless is its personality and provenance. It's a living time capsule from the golden era of touring cars, a pure analog machine in an age of digital everything. The steering, the balance, the way it communicates. Every drive feels like a conversation between human and machine, something no modern computer-assisted performance car can replicate. Even leaders of cutting-edge automotive tech recognize its magic. Bugatti Rimac CEO Mehdi Rimac, a man who builds 1,900 horsepower electric hypercars, once said that if he had one last drive, he'd choose an E30 M3. That says everything. This isn't just a car, it's a symbol of what the ultimate driving machine once meant and why the legend endures.